Now something to notice at this point, we've got all these in. If you scrambled it fully, these will not be solved. If you didn't scramble it fully, you may find that these are actually solved. This whole layer is in, and when you look at that, you might think that this is a much easier puzzle than it is. The reason why these aren't is because it took extra time and extra care getting a full scramble. So I actually had to spend some time doing that, and it keeps it as a challenge. Once you do this, we now go into the next step, and the next step is the cuboid step. But it's kind of a limited version of that, because understand the roadblock aspect of this, really interesting puzzle is the fact that if you want to put the layers in, I can't treat these layers the way you treat these layers. The reason is because in cuboid strategy, first you're swapping layers, edges and centers from one layer down to another. But I can't do that here because all those algorithms require some sort of a 2R. When I do that, I can't move these layers independently. So I'm going to have to kind of do a workaround with that. So the only layers that I can move around are the ones just above and below these centers. And that's kind of hard to visualize sometimes. But bear in mind, this is a center. 180-degree turns will only deposit these center pieces at the same level. But these pieces, I keep saying center, but this, but these pieces will be exchanging with each other. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to solve these two like it was just a 3-layer version. So make sure we have our cross. We've got this here. We need to put a pink in here. This pink is going to come from this layer here, so let's find a pink. So when I do a 2F, this is going to end up down here. It's going to be hard to visualize, but just watch. And the way to not mess yourself up is when I turn it, these three are going to take the place of these. So I'm going to turn it over here. Now this just came down to that layer. I know that because these three are the same amount as this. So now that I've done that, let's move this out of the way. Before double turning it back, let's see which one is going to be right next to the pink, which is green. So let's put a green up here so that green can be at the proper orientation, proper place. So green, green, green. We don't have a green, so we can't do that. So let's just move this down here and move this back. So we put the blues already in here. We put the pink in here. Couldn't find a green to put in here, but we've got one over here. So double turn it to put this one down. This green is now in place. Move it out of the way to move it back. Right next to the green is orange. So let's find an orange that we can replace it with right here. So now double turn back and move it forward. So we put the green in, but the orange is in also. So you can see that we have the cross here. By coincidence, we have it here too, but that wasn't planned, actually. So here's our center, and here's this. The next step now is we put our corners in, and again we just have to carefully make sure that we're placing it with this. This is the last layer that we can use, and this is the last techniques that we can actually borrow from one layer to another, do swaps. So this pink and green is already in place. You're probably wondering, what the heck am I going to do about parity? But don't panic. Green and orange from up here. Do we have one up here that we can use? Yeah. And this one qualifies because it's flipped around. So by doing the algorithm, this will flip and come down here. So just remember, it's this layer we're moving, 2R, U, that's the U, 2R, UI, 2R. What it did is it very nicely moved this green and orange in place, but don't panic about these. This was the expected parity that happens with this algorithm. All I have to do is continue holding it like this, and this will move back with the next time we do it. Orange and blue. Well, here's an orange and blue right over here, and this will move in, up here. Orange and blue, and this is not going to move in just fine, but this is. So you see how easy it is to possibly get yourself all screwed up. Anyway, this will come down here, 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R, and as promised, we got all this stuff back, and we put this in. So let's keep our orientation here. Okay. So we're going to enter possibly parity situations because I only have one left, and that's going to seem to knock that out. So blue and pink, find it from up here. right here. This will move nicely down here. 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R. So this side is now done, even though this seems to be hopelessly screwed up. We don't worry about that. Now, it would be nice if we had one more side to do, because it'll get everything back, or one more corner to do, but we don't. But there are going to be some parity type algorithms, parity inducing algorithms that will get this back. So the next step was we look at these, and what I'm looking for is a sandwich formation. And the steps that are taken is, number one, if you don't have any sandwich, get one by doing a corner switching algorithm. Step two, if you have one, move it to the side so that they can all be sandwiches. Step three, if they're all sandwiches, as we have in this case, then we just basically do middle swapping. Now, it just so happens that all of these are sandwiches, but we've been through that algorithm. You just have to remember to go through this. But let me show you what happens when it's not so easy. Let's say we had this situation where you got all this in, we've got this horrible, ugly looking parity here. Now we want to work on this layer, which was just above our middle layer, and I have one sandwich formation over here. Right over here. See, so I move that to the side, to the left side, and I'm going to do a corner swap. So this is just to demonstrate how to do that, bearing in mind I'm just moving this. I'm not going to roadblock any of these guys. So let's see what happens. So it's going to be 2R, U, that's our U here, 2R, UI, 2R. Then we move this to a UI, and then we move the one just below the center to a D. So it all moves in the counterclockwise. 2R, UI, 2R, U, 2R. Now understand that's not a parity generating or parity fixing algorithm, so we didn't expect it to change, but now we have all of our sandwiches here. So then it's a matter of middle swapping. Let's actually move this back over here. So we swap this middle with here to get our pink one, and it's going to be that same adjacent middle swap algorithm that we've talked about with the cuboids. Bearing in mind we're just moving this, 2R, U, 2R, U, 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R, and oh, happy days, we've got this back, so it doesn't look quite so bad. We've got this in, so now what do we need to do? Well, let's flip these two now. Same thing. 2R, U, 2R, U, 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R. So this is in, we created parity here, but no worries. Now we do our final one, which will swap these two, take our parity out. Now, it might not have happened that way, in which case we'd have to sort of borrow the next step, but we won't worry about that now. 2R, U, 2R, U, 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R. Okay? The whole key is by doing the proper preparative steps, we won't run into impossible situations or parity situations where we have to invent other strategies. So it's pretty straightforward. Okay, now the final frontier here. This step can become very difficult or really very easy depending on what you have to do. But it's pretty obvious that I can't keep going layer by layer. Even if I know that all of these are in the same layer, you know, I can say, well, here's a sandwich formation here, move it to the side, do the 2R. But obviously, when I do 2R, I can't isolate this side. So I have to do all of these three sides in tandem at the same time, which means I've got to get them in sync. If you should happen to be in sync, now by in sync, what I mean is there's 3 steps to the process. Step 1, make sure you have at least one sandwich formation. If you do, goes to the left side, do a corner swap. Step 2 is you get all the sandwiches that are there, maybe one that's actually solved, after you do the corner swap, and then step 3 are middle swaps. So where are we at on this layer? Well, we're at the point where we just have one sandwich formation. Where are we at this area here? Well, same thing. This is actually in sync to that. This also has the sandwich formation, so this can also come to the side. Now, we solve the top layer which actually was not going to help us because we need to put it in sync with everything else. So this whole thing is solved. What I need to do is I need to get it in sync where there's only one that has a sandwich formation. Now if I do a corner swap, I'm going to end up with all of these bottom two with sandwiches and this one not. So we're going to be out of sync. So when you're in that situation, put your sandwiches in front of you. If you do that and do the corner swap, you're always going to end up with one sandwich formation. So you know that you can do whatever you got to do here until you just have one. So I'm going to go ahead and do a corner swap basically with all of these at the same time. So it's like a tandem corner swap between this and this. So we've got 2R, then all these three go U, 2R, UI, 2R. Move this and then move the bottom here in tandem, 2R, UI, 2R, U, 2R, move this back. So what that did is now this isn't solved, but we have one sandwich formation here, and somewhere here is another sandwich formation. Well, didn't happen this time, but we have solved ones over here. So what I'm going to have to do is let's see what we can organize. I'm going to move this over here. What kind of situation is going to give me a sandwich? Well, I can do another corner swap to put this over here to get a sandwich, and this over here to get a sandwich, so to speak. So I'm going to see what else I can coordinate here. Why don't I do it like this? Because if I do it like this, this will come here and give me a sandwich over here. So orange will come here next to this orange, pink will come here, orange will come here. So I can try to coordinate things just like that, and that's what I'm going to do. So 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R, turn, 2R, UI, 2R, U, 2R, turn this back. So how are we doing? Sandwich, 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 not. So we are now coordinated. I know it makes you a little dizzy to have to focus on all these colors. So now I move all these three to the side and then do the same thing. That should give me sandwiches everywhere. 2R, U, 2R, U, UI, careful. 2R, turn, 2R, UI, 2R, U, 2R, turn back. As promised, all we have are middles that are out of place, so that we don't get confused. Now, they don't always have the same proportions of middles, but now we can coordinate it to where we start swapping on this side. I'm going to swap these two, and it'll solve these two sides here. What about here? I can swap these two, and it'll solve these two sides. How are we doing over here? I can swap these two, and it'll solve these two sides. So this is going to be a tandem solve of these two sides. 2R, U, 2R, U, 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R. Just as promised, there it is, but this is a parity creating algorithm, so we've created that here. No worries. Moving it over here, these guys will solve, and it'll solve the puzzle. 2R, U, 2R, U, 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R, and your puzzle, as promised, is solved. Okay, so that is the Roadblock 2.